Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and the next big RPG is here. It is Baldur's Gate 3. This comes from the developer Larian Studios, who made Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. If you've been around the channel for a long while, you know I sing the praises of Divinity Original Sin 2 as much as humanly possible. I believe this is the best role-playing game of this past generation. I still, to this day, highly recommend you give it a chance. And so their next game is Baldur's Gate 3. I've covered this one closely. It just entered early access yesterday. I've been playing it for a number of hours. I'm loving it. It is every bit of the RPG I could have dreamed of. I am not surprised at all, however, because it is Larian Studios, and that is exactly why I'm not going to play it anymore. Now let's get one thing straight here. This game is going to be amazing. There is no doubt about that. It is already amazing in a lot of ways, but it is in early access, right? And Larian has been incredibly transparent about their development process, about early access, about the nature of bugs to be expected in this. This does not come as a surprise. I was not expecting anything different. I was provided a review code. I was originally going to try to resist, but I just couldn't help myself. I had to sink my teeth in for about 4 hours, and I thought, okay, that's enough. And the reason I'm leaving early access behind is because I personally believe that all I will do is taint my opinion of the game as more bugs arise, as I go deeper, as I repeat constant sections of the game. I feel like I only serve to hurt myself here in what is an otherwise fantastic experience. So early access contains the first act of the game. This is roughly 20 hours of content. Your saves will not carry over into the final version of the game because, of course, as they progress with development, there will be save compatibility issues. And with early access, to be expected, there are tons of bugs. Like for me, I had some crashes, or I finished the prologue section, I entered a brand new area, and there was no one there. I couldn't progress the quests at all, so I actually had to reload my entire game, go through a bunch of battles once more. So that led to me compulsively saving a lot. Once again, I need to emphasize I'm not complaining. This is something that they've been very transparent about. Also, they did the same thing for Divinity Original Sin 2 in 2016 when I had tested the game at PAX East. Then they released in early access. The full game came out about a year later, and it was amazing. Like I said, Divinity Original Sin 2 is the best RPG of the last generation. So I trust their process. I want them to do this early access thing. I'm here to offer my thoughts on why you need to pay attention to this game, but also why I'm personally not going to be touching it, and why maybe you should hold on to your money for a little bit, at least until early access progresses a little bit. So it starts off with the incredible character creation. I made my Drow, and she's beautiful. She is so beautiful. Also, that's because it's a shout out to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. That was my first experience with Baldur's Gate. I was not one of those people playing the CRPGs. I was playing Dark Alliance on my PS2, grinding out loot, playing it over and over again, and now those games are so rare, I need to add them to my collection. But anyway, that made my heart sing when I saw the Drow, and I was like, oh my god, yes, this is it. This is the cover art for the game I love so much. But for real, the graphics in this game are beautiful, and usually games from Larian Studios are known for their role-playing, but it has been severely improved in the visuals department. This is mostly punctuated by its conversation system. Normally in Divinity Original Sin 2 or Wasteland 3 even, which is by a completely separate company, but these games are isometric RPGs, so they're really just holding the camera above you, even in conversations. It's not as interactive, it's just walls of text, but this is a great step forward what they're doing with Baldur's Gate 3 by bringing you in on the conversation, fully animating NPCs, bringing them to life. There's like a ridiculous BioWare feeling, like an old school BioWare feeling here. You'll see your party members behind you. They'll chime in during conversations. The way that the characters just seem so lifelike, it's incredible. It is easily the best change they absolutely could have made with their games, because there is so much dialogue in Larian games. And sometimes you do feel like, oh my god, I'm just reading constantly, and you just need to see something new. These interactive cutscenes, they're beautiful. I know they are standard for a lot of games, but Larian, kind of like in the middle of the road budget wise, they are putting their money in the right place. This conversation system is a huge step up. Given the fact that this is Baldur's Gate, it's pretty much D&D the game. It's based off the 5e rule set for those who aren't familiar, and there's a lot of dice rolling happening in this game. You're rolling for initiative, you're rolling for perception checks. Of course, when you roll for things within conversation, like maybe an arcana check, you'll actually see a dice roll come up and you'll roll based off your stats, and every single build is going to be different based off the race you're picking, the class you're picking, the skills you want to be proficient in. It's amazing. They just keep transforming their games more and more. With Divinity, I was like, this is D&D the game. But now with Baldur's Gate, this is truly feeling like D&D the game, especially when you're seeing the D20 come up on screen. It's wild, man. But it works so well. It's enjoyable. There's a level of freedom there. It rewards your builds consistently. It's exactly like I expected, but there's just these leaps and bounds when it comes to the technology in the game that is just so much cleaner and so much more enjoyable to just play. One example of the sheer amount of choice is right in the beginning, there is this mind flayer that was on the ship with you before it crashed. Now you discover this mind flayer trapped and they're being saved by a bunch of humans who are currently being brainwashed. Now what happened the first time I came up was I actually broke these people's trance. They realized that they were out of line and they walked away, leaving the mind flayer to his devices, to which he had actually swayed me into giving my life up, and then he killed the rest of my party. Now, because I died, I reloaded it, and the whole scenario unfolded in a completely different way. This time, my role to convince these people to leave the mind flayer be actually failed. So combat engaged, I killed 2 people, and the only one remaining engaged in dialogue with me because they had wisened up. At this point in time, I had now known better that the mind flayer could take over my mind, so what I did was I just killed him right there. No questions asked. But the amount of dialogue, choices, skill checks that were embedded in this small moment overall compared to my entire experience is really what punctuates what is so special about Larian Studios. They truly make the best role-playing games, and this is why. Such a small event here, right? This is not going to drastically change the events of your main story, but I had so much control and so many outcomes over the way this situation would go, and that is what's so exciting about these games. I always say to people with Divinity Original Sin 2, this is a game that you truly could not even have to beat. You could just go into it and play the first like 30 hours 8 different ways, and that would be perfectly fine. And that's the fun of the game, is seeing how things unfold based off your choices, based off your builds, what race you are, how the world responds to you. You're always seeing something new, and that's very much at the DNA of Baldur's Gate 3. Now, when combat opens up, it's pretty familiar, right? This is where a lot of people were talking about, and I had actually made a video on it, the familiarity of Divinity Original Sin 2. So there are some slight changes here with Baldur's Gate 3. You get an action, such as attacking, a bonus action, like maybe hiding or shoving an enemy. You have movement, and then of course, like we've seen in many Divinity games, elemental and environmental interactions. So if there's oil on the ground, you set fire to it. Now the whole battlefield's on fire. There's so many ways for all of that to interact with each other. The bonus actions are kind of the game changer here. So for example, shoving. This was designed for people who needed to like just vent out those years and years and years of getting picked on, right? I remember one time in high school, I was just minding my own business, man. Some kid walked by me, shoulder bumped me extremely hard, boom, back up against the locker I went, and he just carried on with his day. I'm just like, man, I can't wait till Baldur's Gate 3 comes out and I can use the shove bonus action to just, you know, get all of that out of my system. And then I learned martial arts. But the point being is that this is something that feels really good. So like pushing someone off a crate like we saw in the demo for Baldur's Gate 3 before the game actually came out to early access, you start to think of all these creative options you can do with something like that. Getting up on a high area as an archer, someone rushes you and then shoving them off and then shooting them from above. Stuff like that is just so cool. It doesn't really change the game entirely, but it's just that one extra little thing you can do. There's also the camp system here. So what happens is you'll get a list of spells and you can use them whenever you want in combat. It's not like there's mana here to balance out, but in fact, what'll happen is maybe you can only use it once a day. So just kind of like in D&D, in order to get your spells back, you'll have to rest, whether it be a short rest or a long rest, and some of those will regen. I thought this is really cool, once again, taking that tabletop experience and bringing it to a virtual setting. And last but certainly not least, This game is multiplayer, so if you want to go ahead and pick it up, you can play it with friends online. I will say this, with the amount of bugs I experienced, which a lot of us did anticipate, it is early access, it is something they've done in the past. I imagine multiplayer only makes that even more chaotic. However, if you are not into isometric games, which you can pull in the camera really close in this game and almost play it borderline in third person, which I think is really, really neat, and once again can give it that level of accessibility that people are really looking for. But if it's still not your speed, multiplayer is a really good way to go. It's a good way to get in, learn the systems with someone else. It doesn't feel like all the weight of your entire party is on your shoulders. This is a really good way to play the game. Now, let's say you're unsure about Baldur's Gate 3, you want to do a little taste test. I'm telling you once again, if you haven't listened to me, listen to me now. Pick up Divinity Original Sin 2. This game is phenomenal. It is fully online, 4-player co-op. It's extremely enjoyable. Like I said, I don't even think it's a game you need to actually beat, because I don't know if the story, in my opinion, is really the highlight of that game. It's just about making choices and having fun in that universe and seeing all the wild things that'll unfold. And of course, the large-scale battles that just always go haywire. Same thing kind of here in Baldur's Gate 3. So that'll do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3 and some of its early access offerings. Fantastic game. Definitely keep your eye on it. Watch for future updates. The second that a full release is around, I will probably unapologetically tell people, go pick this game up. It's gonna be incredible. But for the time being, this is all we've got. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments down below, so do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who make videos like these possible. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll talk with you guys soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.